folks. My name is Abraham Drost. I'm the CEO of Clean Air Metals, symbol AIR on the TSX Venture. We've been trading since May of 2020. And the update today is on the Thunder Bay North project, the result of a consolidation of two very promising platinum, palladium, copper, nickel assets purchased from Rio Tinto and Panoramic Resources of Australia. I will be making some forward-looking statements today. Around here, we also call that vision. I think you would expect no less from the senior management team. Jim Gallagher is my colleague, executive chair of the company, most recently the CEO of North American Palladium, who was responsible for the turnaround of the Iles Mine and the ultimate sale to Implats of South Africa in 2019. My background, exploration geologist, 20 years of field experience, and then running with the juniors, starting with Sabina in 2004. We have 167 million shares issued and about 7.5 million in the bank and drilling with 3 drills. Management owns or controls about 5% of the company. Benton Resources about 14% as a result of a $3 million cash payment they made to Rio to lock up the deal in about sort of October of 2019. And institutionally, we're about 40% held. It is the Lake Superior Basin, a number of very promising copper, nickel, platinum, palladium assets around the basin as a result of the mid-continent rift structure and magmatism in the late Archean. Lac des Iles is about 60 kilometers up the road from Thunder Bay North, and you can see that here in a more detailed map. But it also includes a high voltage power line on the east side of our property in green here, which protects the 2 deposits, the escape deposit and the current deposit. We were able to put out a 43-101 resource update on January 20th of this year, using quite a conservative 3-year trailing price average and invoking constrained by a ramp access underground selective high grade mining approach, using a $77 cutoff grade to represent mining and processing costs. We ended up with a 1.8 million ounce palladium equivalent resource. That is a pretty good start. And we've drilled about 30,000 meters at escape since then, and about 5,000 at current, which is pretty well ready to go. And I say that in the context of an upcoming PEA. These are the resource numbers for the 2 assets, the current lake deposit and the escape lake deposit. And these are peer leading platinum, palladium, copper, nickel grades. We'll stack these up against anyone in the non-producing exploration and development peer group worldwide. We have been doing fairly significant advanced metallurgy and are looking at a possible split con, a copper concentrate, and a bulk sulfide con for overall PG recoveries in the mid to high 80s, which is pretty decent. We take our relationships with our First Nation partners very seriously. It's active and ongoing, and we were able to sign a memorandum of agreement with them on January the 11th this year, consistent with our EDI policy announced last December. In Northwestern Ontario, we have a low carbon footprint, a mix of solar, wind, and hydroelectric power. These wind towers are actually on our property on the east side, run by a third-party operator feeding into the Ontario grid, from which we would ultimately procure our own power. Now for some technical slides. This is a Google Earth map view of the 2 deposits, the current deposit on the right, or current lake deposit, and the escape deposit on the left. They are 2 magma conduits tied together by the escape lake faults. Better shown here, 2 discrete features that are about 4 kilometers long each, have mineralization in the bronze color, and that are tied together by the escape lake fault, which we believe is a feeder zone for the magma and for the mineralization. And we do believe that there is potential here for massive sulfide, extremely high-grade massive sulfide deposits as well. I now have a verify view, a 3D kind of view of the two deposits. I'll be circulating this here. You can see that these things are quite separate and distinct. And they're very, very interesting, kind of elongate, almost serpent-like features. Quite rare, actually. You don't see these every day. They're not ultramafic dikes, and they're not feeder zones to large intrusions. These are discrete magma conduits. The grade distribution in the current lake deposit or current deposit lends itself to ramp access underground mining. The color code shows high-grade material, quite variable in distribution, but regular systematic high-grade sort of in the upper portions of the deposit, which we would access by ramp, and are working on a PEA and cash flow model at a reasonable return on investment. We can see that the current and bridge zones here, lower current and bridge, are very sweet material, sort of running in the over 4 gram palladium equivalent range. And we believe that this particular deposit lends itself very well to ramp access and high-grade selective underground extraction. We've already eliminated the upper current zone under current lake. And so we've taken a very kind of journeyman sort of underground approach to constraining the resource here. Most of the material is indicated. That said, there is upside potential and inferred material at the base of the intrusion at about 500 to 600 meters below surface. Where the ramp would come in is only 50 to 60 meters above surface, so offers some very clear opportunities for economic exploitation, which will be shown in the upcoming PEA. And I just want to point out, some of the grades that have been recovered, drill intersections that have been recovered from the current deposit over time. The discovery moment was 2008, but these are intercepts that we would stack up against any project worldwide today. These are world-class intercepts. I mean, when you're talking sort of, 6.5 grams platinum, 6.5 grams palladium, 1.5% copper and 0.71% nickel over 35 meters here in hole 326. I mean, that's world-class stuff anywhere you go. And that zone there represents, that first few years of mining, which is also contains, we expect contains payback. So, and then we have a whole nother deposit, which is still early days, very much exploration focus, called the Escape deposit. And we have a high-grade zone there called the Escape South high-grade zone. And we are at the present joining the Escape South zone with the Steep Ledge South zone. And so far, with 30,000 meters of additional drilling since the resource statement, we have continuous mineralization. Want to emphasize that this conduit is still very much underexplored, and it will be 1 or 2 years before this enters into any kind of mine planning scenario, I expect. And most of the material is inferred still at Escape, but we do have a very nice slug of indicated mineralization running about 500,000 ounces of palladium equivalent. That was the maiden resource reported in January. And, some very stellar intercepts defining that particular Escape South high-grade zone. So it's holding together quite well. The project is performing beyond our expectations, actually. And so, look, we've had a good year and a half putting the project together, drilling it off, and effectively developing the partnership with our First Nations and doing our metallurgy and so forth. There's also a second part to this, and that is the greenfields exploration upside around massive sulfides. We are in a graben setting here, a fault-bounded basin with Archean sediments into which these later Precambrian or later Proterozoic features have been intruded. So it's a very nice host environment. And we would compare it actually with the Talnakh field at Norilsk, which is responsible for 30% of the world's palladium supply as a byproduct of copper nickel today. And it's been in continuous production since the 1920s. So from our perspective, we've got structure, the Talnakh fault, we've got stratigraphy in the Karalak branch, which is very comparable with the Escape Lake faults, same scale, and the conduits at Current and Escape. So we've got a lot of similarities here to compare. And the best part is we also have massive sulfides, this particular intercept from the Current Lake deposit, multi-ounce platinum palladium, and over 15% copper. That's a stunner. And so, if we find the source of this, which we believe is towards the feeder zone area, then that's a game changer for the project. Similarly, in the Escape conduit or Escape Lake conduit, more recently, we intersected massive sulfides with this kind of tenor, 2.5% nickel, almost 5% copper, ore grade cobalt, and about 14 grams platinum palladium. That is a world-class intercept by anybody's standards. And if we find the source of that material, then same thing. You can see the potential here. And the best part is the geochemistry of those intercepts plot in the Norilsk field of a graphic that shows just about all of the world-class nickel copper deposits in production today. We've done some good work with geophysics, identifying potential massive sulfide targets in those feeder zone areas by the Escape Lake fault, which joins the two conduits at the hip, shall we say, or at the head, I guess, better said. And so to show that to you in 3D then, so we actually put in these survey lines and ran what we call a magnetotelluric survey. And the survey showed us that we have some very strong low resistivity areas sort of proximal to the Escape Lake fault, not necessarily on the fault, but close. And that feeds into the model that I just showed you from Norilsk, the potential for massive sulfide mineralization in quantity. It exists here. And look, I mean, we've got a project just with, the internal workings of the two conduits. We have a potential third project here with a massive sulfide discovery, and that we believe would be a game changer for the company and its shareholders. So that's an exciting upside potential here to the project. We have a great board as well. And before I get to that, I'll just point out that in terms of, sort of market cap, we're sort of, highest grade PGs and lowest end of the totem pole in terms of market cap. What gives? Well, that's sometimes the way the cookie crumbles. But we will stack up our grade profile against anyone. And we do believe that ultimately grade is king and we will rise to the top. And so from our perspective, look, the investment catalysts are PEA, and we're moving into PFS next year. And we believe that in collaboration with our First Nation partners, a strong environmental impact assessment effort, we can potentially start permitting coincident with feasibility in the next 1 to 2 years. This is the board of whom I'm very proud to be working with, in addition to Jim Gallagher, Ewan Downey, CEO of I-80 Gold, Marianne Crichton, the director of the PDAC, and also chair of our sustainability committee, and Dean Chambers, a corporate development guru, former director at Lac des Îles, or at least at North American Palladium, at the sale to Implats, and a strong mining practitioner. So it's a great board, a great mandate, and we are seeking to execute in terms of exploration and development at Thunder Bay North. Thank you very much for your kind attention today. Goodbye.